Dear students, it is the third video about the week 15 lesson 30, and in this video we are going to discuss about the determinants of the foreign policy. The first objective of the foreign policy is integrity of the state, that a state must be integral, free of any foreign dominance. Number means that a state develops relation for the integrity. क्या मैं अपनी आज़ादी के लिए, अपने मुल्क के हदूद के लिए, अपनी आवाम की तरक्की के लिए we have to develop our foreign policy. For example, Pakistan is going ally with China just because of the sovereignty of our country, so that if India captures us and takes control, so our sovereignty will be trimmed. Fine. So sovereignty of the country is the first parameter, that no country develops relation with the other states on the expense of their sovereignty. Fine. Clear? Either because all the states are always in the clashes. Clear? History and development actually is the story of the human clash. Second thing is interdependence of the states. Let's read. All the big or small, rich or poor are dependent on one another for one or the other reasons. This interdependence may result in conflict or cooperation. So states under these stress attempt to create a situation under which international behavior may not be broken completely. Foreign policy is formulated in such a way as to maintain a balance with bargaining. For example, India didn't recognize Israel for long to seduce the Arab countries or to resent the Arab countries from siding with Pakistan in event of the Indo-Pak disputes. Interdependence of the state means that all the states by one mean or other are dependent on the others. For example, I in the beginning express you that because Pakistan is a close ally with Saudi Arabia, and most of the almost 4 million Pakistanis, over 4 million Pakistanis work in Saudi Arabia, and they transmit a huge amount. Saudi Arabia always has a weapon that if Pakistan is not siding with them, they intimidate that they will expel Pakistanis. So this is interdependence of the state. Similarly, Afghanistan is interdependent on Iran and Pakistan with the direct trade relations. Similarly, Nepal was a landlocked country and it was completely dependent on the India one way, and India nowadays started questioning over their sovereignty. India ने इन दिनों उनकी sovereignty पर question करना शुरू कर दिया. India started assuming Nepal as their sub-state. Okay, then Nepal re-established its relation with China as a substitute, and Nepal issued its political map and demanded India to return her territories. Clear? नेपाल ने अपना पॉलिटिकल मैप दिया और इंडिया को कहा कि अपना जो है वो मेरे इलाके वापस कर दीजिए. और फिर on the borders over there were many Indian soldiers were injured or reported killed as well in a little clash. So this is what interdependence of the state, that a state have to depend on one another. When Indians refuse to help them, they Chinese was the substitute, and now you find that the Chinese are merging all the regional countries into one bloc. Promotion of the national interest, that all the states establish their foreign policy for their national interest. For example, Pakistan's national interest in CPAC, Pakistan's national interest in Kashmir issue, Pakistan's national interest is in war against terrorism. Clear? So Pakistan puts these issues in front of the international community and they make their relationships accordingly. Fine. 4 is internal and external conditions. Foreign policy of every state is conditioned by certain internal and external factors. Internal factors include geography, population, economic needs, ideology, history, culture, and military capacity, social structures, personalities, public opinion. Fine. External factors are global environment, great power structure, alliance, international organizations, world public opinion, reaction to the other states. The degree of influence of these factors on the foreign policy may vary from country to country. That's why they are discussed in detail in the subsequent headings. Okay, internal and external factors. Whenever a country is making the foreign policy, it has to keep in mind, or they keep in mind, the geography. For example, we talk most of our India and Pakistan are the countries connected to the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Ocean, whereas Pakistan lies in the middle and is connected to the uh, Eastern countries, Central Asian countries, and equally connected with the Arab world, whereas India is not that connected. Thereby, the geography of Pakistan gives importance to its foreign policies. And you find interestingly that whenever arena war relationship, you find that Pakistan's role is central in many ways. For example, all the two major Cold Wars have been fought in Afghanistan. Pakistan was the major ally. Even in the First World War and the Second World War, the people on which Pakistan is comprised, people, the territories in Pakistan, they fought in the First World War and in the Second World War. Fine. Population of Pakistan is there. Chinese population and Pakistani population and Indian population. The population are young, they are talented, they need the jobs. Clear? So these are the internal factors that promote the foreign policy. For example, in Pakistan, Pakistan's ideology and history and culture and military capacity, they are joined because Pakistan has been established on the idea of Islam, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Our history is that we have been fighting for against the international dominance, except in these two second phase in Afghanistan, we had to fight for the others. Fine, to some extent, but in the first Soviet, we fight for our own interest, but here we fight for the American interests. Our culture, fine. So it makes our most of the internal foreign policy, whereas the ideology of Indians, Hindutva ideology, their history, their culture, and their military campaign, if you explore from Sultan of Ghazni till the Ahmad Shah Abdali and after in the war in 1947, 1948, 1965, 1971, clear, it is 1984, then we come to Kargil war in 1998 something, fine. So, and in the most recent time, another war is going. You find that according to their ideology and internal issues, India is posing these threats to Pakistan, and it she tries to denounce Pakistan or impute at all the stage, and the relation with the international uh, countries. For example, India is a huge economy and has is the purchaser of weapons and others. Fine. So India's position is somewhat different from Pakistan. Fine. So these are the internal factors. Next, specific, subjective, or internal determinants. Again, internal determinants, geography. I gave you the example that Pakistan became important because of its location, sea route, sea pack. You find clear Pakistan is connected with the other countries through land, that it is situated on the Eurasian plate. Fine. It has the world's highest mountains, forests, swamps, rivers, deserts, ocean, people. Clear? So its geography and topography is very attractive. And it also in the neighbors of the Russia, China, Central Asian states, Arab states. Next is history. Pakistan has a very rich and close history with almost all the regions. Clear? The Gilgit Baltistan, Ladakh, and other areas, in the Kashmir, mostly Muslim populated areas, they have been controlled by the Muslims for centuries. They were directly connected with the Central Asia. The culture, relations, all are similar rather than the uh, Hindu impact. Clear? Pakistan has very close relations that all the Muslim warriors, invaders, leaders, Sufis, even culture and food and traditions, they have been they traveled from Afghanistan, Iran, Central Asia, Turkey, Arab countries to the Indian continent, and Delhi became world's magnificent city, richest, cultured, sophisticated, clean, safe, and many more. The times when London and Paris and other European countries, they used to be abandoned places. There were hardly any spectacular buildings. Here the people were uh, constructing Taj Mahal, Sheesh Mahal, castles. They would eat lots of food. And interestingly, if you explore simply the history of the Western food, you find a very little one. But if you just go Lahore or any other city in Indian Punjab, maybe they can offer you so many dishes just in the breakfast. So this is what a country that has the relations, and the people of these countries are the mixed race, mixed. There are Hindus, Sikhs, people having traces with Afghanistan, Iranian, Central Asians. Clear? It's a very good conglomeration of the people. Fine. So history is in different thing. Pakistan has made a history in people. Muslims made history with the safety for the safety of Afghanistan, for the safety of Turkish Empire, especially the Ottoman empires. Clear? And same relation is inherited with Pakistan, that Pakistan with Turkey has a historical relation. And you must remember this, once a time that half of the India used to be the province of Kabul, or you can say Afghanistan. A time came that Kabul, Kandahar, Herat, they used to be the province of the Delhi, means India. Population, population is another determinant. Economic factors are very important. That economy of Pakistan is a bit weak, and we have to depend on Americans and Chinese. Clear? And also with the European countries. Clear? Uh, Most of us have the human labor, and they travel and settle over these countries. Clear? So according to the economic relations, Pakistan have to develop the relations, and so does every country. For example, Kashmir is a burning issue, but because the uh, Gulf Muslim countries, although they are Arabians, yet because they had India as a huge uh, business partner and strategic partner, thereby on Indian assistance, they gave many times shut up call to Pakistan that do not talk over it. It's your internal matter and resolve it internally. Do not drag us into this. Fine. Development. Usually, a developed nation tends to follow an independent foreign policy, whereas a backward nation is inclined to pursue a dependency policy. The latter, owing to its poverty and military weakness, would rely on the developed nations for economic development and for its protection against the powerful enemy. Means that the countries who are developed, they are foreign policy is free, whereas the countries dependent in terms of defense and economic ties, they are always under pressure of the powerful country. For example, since Pakistan was in American bloc, Pakistan had to seek permission for Americans for any act. And now, because Pakistan's its economies and development is connected with Chinese, so Chinese foreign policy and us is going parallel. Fine. So developed countries have a free foreign policy with the national and military capacity. Well, in making a foreign policy, it is very necessary to design that whether the nation and the military has capacity. For example, Pakistani people and military fortunately has the capacity to fight against any foreign aggression, and we have proved it many times. For example, since 1947, 1948, clear 65, 71 onward in war of terrorism, that we can stay to some extent, and the people also have the capacity because most are the young people and they want to pursue their interest. Yet Arab world is different because they have not trained their young people and they have not developed the strong military capacity. Thereby, their foreign policy is dependent on Americans, Westerns, clear, and the other countries. Ideology is a big difference. For example, Israel ideology is creating adverse effect. Indians also have opted an ideology to retake entire India and establish the Hindu Raj. Iranian have also established that they want to topple the Arabic world, regain those areas there once were under the control of their Shiite uh, rulers. Clear? Clear? So these are very deep ideologies. If you go in depth and deep, you find that there are huge difference, and that is the way that Saudi Arabia and they are against. And you find that Taliban in Afghanistan have different ideology. Turkey wants to reinstate the ideology of uh, Ottoman Empire. Pakistan owns its own आइडियोलॉजी और इसमें तो एक कभी वो जो बनाया हुआ है कि तुम अपने नज़रिए पास रखो हम अपना नज़रिया रखते हैं सो व्हाट इज़ दिस इट्स आइडियोलॉजी सब अपने नज़रिए पास रखो हम अपना नज़रिया रखते हैं every state has an ideology and all their lives and relations revolve around those. I think so public opinions that every country has the public opinion. For example, people dislike uh, Israel in Arab world, whereas in the Pakistan. So the popular public opinion is against Jews, but the decision makers in Arab world have forced to accept Israel. Thank you very much.